Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a new episode of the X Button, Season 4, Episode 39. I am your host, Alejandro, and once again, I'm joined by two special season gaming guests that were here 2 or 3 weeks ago. I don't remember how long ago it was because time doesn't make sense. Returning again, Joseph La Russa AKA DonLionheart. How are you doing, Don?
Good. How you doing, Alex? Good to see you.
I'm doing good. And once again, in her second podcast appearance after her Frostpunk, how can I say, AA meeting the last time, Rachel Rae AKA Sardonisms. How are you doing, Sard?
Hello. I'm doing okay. If you hear any trilling, that would be the cat in my lap. She is extremely loud, so you might pick her up.
All right, and that's for the video for the video viewers, so they can see some of the cat tails going. So it's finally happened. This was a crazy week. Things happened. People are feeling certain things. We're here to try to escape a little bit about certain feelings, about certain outcomes, but we're definitely gonna touch a little bit about that and like maybe one of the later topics because I feel it kind of leads itself to that. But before we do that, I just want to remind everyone that this is the X Bottom Podcast, our gaming podcast that posts every Fridays from 10 a.m. onwards, God willing, available in the YouTube channel Escape Gaming as well as most audio services around the world, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and the like. You can find links in the RSS feed at tinyurl.com/escapegaming. If you enjoy our show, give us a like and subscribe. So, time to talk about the games that we've been playing. So, Don, I want to start with you because I loved how every time that you've been here in the show has been kind of like a follow-up on like the same and almost the same games, sort of, kind of, because last time you were playing the first few episodes of Life is Strange Double Exposure, if I remember correctly, because they were like available for pre-order. Like if you pre-ordered, you got access to that.
You had to buy the Ultimate Edition. You had to shell out the big bucks for it, but it's Life is Strange, and it was well worth the big bucks because it's Life is Strange. So, but you had to buy the Ultimate Edition for it. Yeah.
You have finished Life is Strange Double Exposure. You have reviewed both in video review and written review over at seasongaming.com. Tell me about it.
Yeah. So, Life is Strange Double Exposure. I did, as you said, do the written, and I did a video review, edited by our Season Gaming's own Ray Tatara. So he did the video and the voiceover for it. And I have to give him good credit because I didn't give him any direction or anything. So he very much just knew the tone of the writing that I did there.
That's awesome.
Very, very proud of that there. I gave Life is Strange Double Exposure a 9 out of 10. A sensational game is the categorization on Season Gaming's website. I freaking love that game.
Yeah.
Alex, so it was so good.
Yeah, so real quick, is it the best Life is Strange game?
It is the best one since the first one.
Oh, okay.
Is it better than the first one? It's almost impossible to compare the two because they are 10 years apart. So just, I mean, if you look at everything on a technical level, it's outstanding. So in my review, I do spoil certain parts of the first game. I won't spoil them on the podcast here because it's not necessary for the conversation we're having. But I talk about a certain series of events that can occur in the first game that are very impactful and very determinate based on your choices that you make. And like you can make some choices that will cause something crazy to happen or not happen. And when that happens, you have some impacts throughout the rest of the game, and I thought that was really cool. And that was one of the few criticisms I had, is that I didn't feel there was anything quite like that in Double Exposure. But while I was explaining that criticism and I was talking with my girlfriend about it, I decided to show her the scene from the original game. And so I went back and I watched this scene, and I'm like, wow, this game is old, and it looks old, and it looks bad. It looks so bad now because they were a small studio working on like an indie level budget, even though it was a Square Enix published game. And I know they did a remastered. I haven't seen how the scene looks in the remaster of it or anything, but just looking at the two, so if you're just talking on a technical level, this is by far and away the best Life is Strange on a technical level. I had one visual glitch the entire game. It ran super like buttery smooth on my PC, which is a pretty beastly PC, I have to say. So I don't know how it ran on consoles, but I didn't have any errors, any like hitches while playing the game, maybe some load screen hitches or things like that. But on a technical level, solid as a rock, absolutely phenomenal. On a story level, it's a really good mystery. I think it does a really good job landing the plane across the board. There are some open threads and some things that I'm like, what was that about? Why did that happen, but they were not the main thrust of it. They were just like little bumps in the road, little obstacles as the story went that they just kind of brushed off in the end. I'm like, I don't really care because I don't need to know why they closed that out the way that they did, because it was closed out and it did not get in the way of the rest of the main story of the game. And so just it was so good. Max Hanatel, the voice actress for Max, is phenomenal. All of the cast does a really great job, but Hanatel just slipped right back into that role of Max after a decade of not being her, and really knocked it out of the park. Max is corny and dorky like she always is and always was, but she has this more self-assuredness to some level. Not like she's the most confident person on the planet, but she's an adult now. She's got to be 28 years old because it's set 10 years after the first game, and it's so good. They did a really good job. Like I said, the only criticism I really have is that I didn't necessarily feel that the choices I made in the game were impacting the path of the story quite as much as the first game had happened, but that's okay. and that it was good. It did what it needed to do. You can check the review out in text or on video on Season Gaming's website or their YouTube channel. I go into a lot of details on it, and like I said, I do spoil the ending of the first game and some story points of it, but oh man, it is a good game. The tagline of the review was "no need to rewind," because Max's power in the first game is called rewind. She can rewind time, and my point of the tagline was to say she does not have that power anymore, or does she? In this game here, like at the bat, like at the start off the bat, they say, if you use the right click, which was the rewind button in the first games, she'll respond. She'll make a comment about it. She'll be like, "Old habits die hard," or whatever. Like, and they talk about, or she talks to herself, I guess, about not having the power anymore. And so she gets a new power as the game goes on. And I'm not going to spoil too much about it, but she can split between timelines, basically. And so the tagline of "no need to rewind" is just a play on she doesn't have rewind. You don't need rewind because this game as it exists is awesome. It is a worthy follow-up, and it's nice to be Max again. It is so good. I loved it. 9 out of 10, absolutely.
Yeah. And now real quick, obviously the first game, without saying what it was, like, ended two ways.
Yeah, it did.
How does the game kind of like reconcile like that, those very separate endings? Like,
yeah, so let's say there's ending A and ending B, and let's say I chose ending B. So there's no save file reading or anything like that, but early on you're talking to your friend Safi, and she asks you about your past, and she asks you about something, and you can make a choice as to what happened. You literally, it's just like, it's like, what happened to this character? And it's like, answer A, answer B.
Okay.
And that's it. And then it will periodically make references back to how you felt or things that happened, and it'll change some of the in-game like UI and like available information that's there to try and account for it, but it doesn't have any major impact because, again, without spoiling anything, whatever the ending of 1 is, Max has gone through some crazy trauma, and so the question is, how further down the trauma line are we going? Are we going this way, or are we going this way on the trauma on the trauma tree? and then it'll call back to that branch that you chose with little nods and things like that. So it does a good job. Like, I don't think it needed to directly address the choice there. I think that it did a sufficient job handling it the way that it did.
Cool. So,
and it's really early on. It's like you open up in one section, you go through a section, and then you go to a second location, and then as soon as you're in that second location, you make the choice. So
gotcha.
Very, very early.
Yeah, this is a wait for a sale kind of game for me with like everything that I've kind of gotten. And also because I feel like Black Friday is so soon, I have an inkling that it may like receive some like discount there.
Sure, I wouldn't be surprised if it got a discount on a Black Friday. Not at all. Yeah,
especially with like my recent investments that I'm gonna talk about right. a little later.
Investments, sure, that's what we're calling them.
Yeah, they kind of are.
They are an investment. Not that you get money back on the investment, I guess.
Yeah. So Ray, have you played Life is Strange before? Like, no. Just went into. Oh, okay.
Come on, Ray. You would love Life is Strange.
Yes, I was gonna say, like, knowing what I know. Yeah, knowing what I know about you, you love that one. That's cozy game, like as as cozy game you can probably think about.
No, I wouldn't call it cozy, Alex. There's some darkness in it.
I know there's some dark themes, but I've seen like some cozy games also revel in dark themes.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
So it's a story. It's a storybook game. Like it's kind of like you're not quite visual novel, but it's kind of like it's a decision making kind of like adventure. Like
Life is Strange remastered.
That would be one.
I don't know how the remastered is because I have not done it, but yeah, you can use the remastered one. It probably looks better than the old one from 9 years ago. That was a PS3 game.
Yeah, and also on PS4, but because it was on PS3 also, it had that kind of like old look.
There's a lot here.
Yeah, there's so many Life is Strange games because there's
I'm gonna ask one of you to explain the sequence later. Not on the
technically.
It's really easy. It's literally just one. If you want release order or chronological order, release order is 1 Before the Storm, Captain Spirit, 2 True Colors, and then Double Exposure.
Yeah, so it's 6 of them.
Or you can check my review because it's also in the review.
Yes.
I gave the history. I give the full history of it in the review, Ray. So you can check that, and it's all written out there for you.
Okay.
I'm gonna play all of them because I only play one. You found it?
Yeah. It's technically, it's just reverse order of what shows up on Steam. If you just
pretty much.
Pull up all the.
Oh, okay, cool.
So that works. That makes it easy to remember.
Yeah. You're absolutely gonna love it, especially because you've been recently. I don't know if it's the same kind of type of game, Ray, but I saw that you're playing Master Detective Archive Raincode.
Yeah.
So how old is this game? Just out of curiosity. Yeah, I'm actually really curious. Master Detective Archive.
It's only a year old.
Oh, it's not that old then.
Yeah.
This is from the Danganronpa people, right?
Yeah. This is the one by the Danganronpa people, and I've only played a tiny bit of the first Danganronpa. I have it on my tablet actually, and I need to reinstall it so I can finish it. But you can. There's so much over the top cartoonish stuff in this game. It's hilarious. Your assistant Shinigami Death God. He's like this cute little puffball ghost who then goes through an over-the-top magical girl transformation and turns into a hot girl. I believe the internet meme description is "step on me."
Okay.
And she actually acts like it, is why I say that. She is very much like, look, parts of me are still puffy. I'm like,
oh, okay.
The human you're playing is just like, what? What's going on? What's happening?
Oh man.
But you're solving mysteries. Go figure. Master Detective Archive, you're solving mysteries. Who could have guessed? But master detectives are defined by having a forensic forte, which is a psychic power. And your character is insisting that he doesn't have a power, and I'm about to throttle him through the screen because he does, and it's obvious from chapter 0 that he can share other people's. Yeah. So you get chapter 0, then you get a prologue, and then you get chapter 1. Clear as mud.
Okay.
Sure.
Expression there was perfect. So chapter 0, I was stunned because you meet what you think is going to be your core cast of allies. They're all dead by the end of the chapter. For most of the chapter, I was like, there's no way. There's no freaking way. And then I'm like, no, they're actually all dead. What the
Oh man, but I'm not surprised. It's from the Danganronpa people.
But I'm like, damn it, I really liked these guys.
Fatalism is kind of like their forte.
I've never played Danganronpa, unfortunately. So
yeah, knowing what I know about you, Don, I don't know if you'd like it because you're very. I don't know if it's just pixel art that you don't like, or do you like something like visual novel style, like
I don't really have much experience with visual novels, so I don't have like a real preference one way or the other. It's definitely don't like pixel art, I can tell you that much. But
Oh.
I don't know, like I'm not against trying a visual novel like that, but yeah, so I don't have much experience to really say one way or the other. Sorry.
Yeah, because I've turned to think like I know, try Doki Doki Literature Club because it was on PS Plus recently.
Yeah, I have it. I added it to the collection just in case I ever wanna.
You play that one,
I
right?
don't remember buying it, but I have it.
Yeah, it should be like in PS Plus, but so that could be like an interesting one for you to like try just to see if like you have a taste for it because it's a really interesting one.
Yeah, that's what I've heard, but unfortunately, like I feel like I know too much about the spoilers in there just from
everyone talking about it.
I'm an expert at avoiding spoilers. All I know about Doki Doki Literature Club is that it's secretly a psychological horror game.
Yeah,
that's probably like a lot of it though.
that's this spoil. I think that's kind of like the big spoiler because the game literally warned because it has like content warning, like it has like a severe content warning at the beginning, and you can like ignore it or kind of like dig in why they're giving you that content warning. And then they tell you, oh yeah, by the way, like this thing's it's a psychological horror game that's gonna like deal in like really messed up crap. Like we're just warning you just in case like you get like blindsided by the aesthetic. So.
Doki Doki is the onomatopoeia for when your heart's going really fast because you're excited or in love. That's what that means, by the way. So psychological horror game, but I'm so excited. Like happy excited.
Yeah, it's the Japanese slang for Doki Doki. Yeah, heartbeat. It's the onomatopoeia.
Yeah, heartbeat, rapid heartbeat, but excited, a happy rapid heartbeat is Doki Doki. You would not use Doki Doki, or maybe you would. I don't know. I don't see it used for like I'm terrified Doki Doki. I feel like that'd be different.
Yeah, like you would never tell it. I've seen people, like you make my heart go Doki Doki is like how you would use it. Yeah.
I get it now. Like I've heard that phrase before, so that makes more sense.
I feel like Ray and I know a little bit more Japanese than you do, Alex.
My Japanese it's more just the JRPGs in the limited time that I sometimes like play them or not, but I'm not like as super into like the Japanese culture.
Yeah,
so I'm still kind of like learning, even though I love a lot of Japanese stuff. So, so how long have you played this one, Ray, the Master Detective?
I finally picked it up yesterday, actually. So I've owned it for a while, and I bought it because I watched a streamer. They were only allowed to show part of Chapter 0. I don't think they were even allowed to stream all of Chapter 0. But I watched, and I saw the part where we find out the main character's power, and I was like, say less. And then I just waited for it to be affordable, and then I bought it. And I finally booted it up yesterday. I was like, there's so much wacky. Which I could have guessed because, Danganronpa, and also because Japan.
What was its opening? What was its starting MSRP? What was it? What it
was a $60 game.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah, because it was on Switch, right? I think it's still just on Switch. I could be wrong. So it's just. I know it's also on Steam for people that want to check it out. So it's also $60.
It says PlayStation 5, Nintendo Switch, Microsoft Windows, Xbox Series S.
It was everything.
So maybe it got
I don't remember seeing it like in the other systems, but it wasn't also. If it was last year, it wasn't like in my purview either. So.
I just remember Tyga Travis talking about it on the Bitcast, the Season Gaming Bitcast at one point, and that's about it.
I think they talked about it a little bit.
Yeah, it makes sense. That sounds like
it's definitely a Hogue game. So I'd be surprised if he didn't talk about it.
I mean, he talks about a million games he touches, basically.
And
he finished. Yeah, he doesn't finish. Is a big difference, but which is funny. He was supposed to be here this week, but he's probably gonna come next week because I kind of want to have him next with Don here. So, any other thing you've been playing, Ray? I see you're playing also a few mobile games here in the list.
Yeah. So, there's one that Don and I have in common, which is Genshin Impact. But the one that I play because it is so easy to play it super casually, just like log in for like 5 minutes, get all of the daily rewards and back out, is Reverse 1999, which does have a really cool plot, and one day I intend to catch up on the main story eventually.
Yeah, what is? Oh, okay.
So the idea is time is rewinding very slowly or like in bursts. madness sets in, and then a upside down rainfall happens, and a couple more decades disappear. So like the first couple chapters happen in I want to say the 40s, 1940s. And a collective sickness happens where people start seeing gold and money as food. And so there's like widespread cases of people being admitted to the hospital because they're trying to eat gold and they're trying to eat dollars. And it's just like they cannot see food as food and they cannot find food appetizing. And the characters who you're kind of following are called Arcanists. Magic. Shocker. And they can see through it and they're like, what is this? And then the end of chapter 2, maybe chapter 3, time rewinds, the rain falls upward, and everybody who's not an Arcanist disappears. So it's a really cool story.
And it's a mobile game.
It's a mobile game. It's also on PC. But you can play it on mobile, and it's got a really cool combat system. So you get a randomized set of cards, and each character has 2 basic cards, and then when you use enough, when you build up, they call it Moxie. You build up your limit break, whatever, you get your ultimate. But you have a certain number of actions, and you can use those to move cards so that they merge together and you get higher rarities. You can use them to cast cards. And it actually plays it's really cool, and it's a lot of fun figuring out, like, there's a lot of strategy that comes in with that.
It's turn-based RPG, right? It's basically kind of like what you're saying. Kind of card is reminds me of Midnight Suns from like 2 years ago.
Yeah, I can't say because for some reason my computer cannot run Midnight Suns. I gave up when it was like a frame every 3 seconds for a cutscene, and I was just like, I'm out.
Oof.
Yeah, I do not have like a low-end computer. It's not a beast, but it's not a bad computer. It's just it can't run that game. And,
games are just too heavy nowadays. Like they expect something too much even from the middle to high level computers. And then
my specs are fine for it too. Like my specs say I should be able to run it no problem, but it cannot run for shit. So I gave up.
Yeah, it's probably badly optimized on PC then.
Yeah, I don't know.
Not unheard of.
Yeah. So
a game not running well on PC? Never.
Not applicable to Dragon Age, just so we're clear.
Yeah, we're getting there, Don. And also I see you're playing Touhou Lost Word. That's your other game? Or Touhou? Yeah.
Touhou. So I've talked about Touhou Project in a piece on Season Gaming because Touhou Project is a series of bullet hell games that have never officially been localized into English. There are mods that you can get that will translate every single core entry. I own one of them, and of course can only play it if I have the mod running.
Yeah.
But the actual amazing thing about the Touhou Project is the amount of fan games. So the piece on Season Gaming, it's called The Must Play Cozy Game You've Never Heard Of, is about Touhou Mistia's Izakaya. It is a cafe management simulator. It is a fan game. It is on Switch and Steam, and it is so much fun. And the one on mobile is called Lost Word. That is not a typo. It is not Lost World. It is Lost Word. Because somebody is removing individual words from different realities that cause complete catastrophe. Because you remove the word, you remove the concept and purpose of the thing, and everything kind of isn't... It doesn't really work right if you, like, take away the name of a character whose actions are going to dictate the course of the world. If you take away their name and identity, it doesn't go well. Stuff like that. So I really like Lost Word because it is also a turn-based RPG. But it has a lot of strategy to it. So like every gacha game, you've got your tiers of characters. But there is a person who has, I haven't checked if they're still doing it, but I think they probably are. The highest difficulty of every challenge stage they will go through and do with only the lowest tier of character. So there is enough strategy and enough that you can do in the game to allow that if you
That's cool.
are really stubborn and really creative. Or you could just
are you really stubborn?
Yeah.
I am not that stubborn. I am just stubborn enough that I put up with the RNG of Paralyzed to beat level 120 with a whale account that, if anybody asks, was definitely always mine and was never given to me by someone who quit the game.
That's awesome. Well, the one thing I love, Ray, is that I know that you're always gonna like play at least the weirdest and more like eclectic games, because me and Don are a little bit more kind of like in mainstream land. So I love hearing about this, because I would never have been able to tell about Reverse 1999 or Toho, or like at least from my angle, especially seeing, I just looking at the list of the Toho project I saw that has been going from from 1999 to now. That's wild. So.
It's been going since there's like PC 95 was an operating system that it was running on or something like that. I'm like, I don't even know if that was a thing in the US. I'm not sure those exist in the US to be modded to play in English.
Man.
All right, Don, before okay. Anything else we want to say there, Ray, from those games?
No, just pick a name a genre.
Platformer.
There's a Metroidvania that I have on my Switch of Toho Project fan game.
That's amazing. So it's basically covered everything there.
Pretty much. If you said RTS, I was gonna have to think about it or Google, but pretty much anything else.
Wow.
I'm gonna dig more into that, because I love finding like these weird things that I never knew exist. But if it's been going for that long, it means that it has something big there. Don, before we jump into Dragon Age: The Veilguard, I see you're still been playing Mafia 3, surprisingly, considering Dragon Age is here now. Do you make it further there from the last time you played?
Yeah, so let me start by saying I'm not playing it at the moment, but since I was last on here, I have definitely played it. So that's why I put it on the list there, because I pretty much stopped playing Mafia 3 on October 30th or whatever, just before Veilguard came out. And obviously I was here the week before that, so I hadn't played Veilguard the last time I was on here, and I had a lot more time into Mafia 3 now, so I did want to put it on the list for this conversation. And yeah, I have put a fair amount of time in, probably I don't know how many hours I've put in, but I would say that I am what is it, like, not like 6/9 of the way through the game or whatever. So I've done a lot of it, most of it at this point, outside of the DLC. I haven't done any of the DLC stuff yet, but I like this game a lot more than I like 2. As you'll recall, Mafia 2 is bad. It is an actively bad game. This is not an actively bad game. This is an actively flawed game. I always give credit where it's due. I love the storytelling framing in this game. I love the flashbacks. Like, the whole game is technically a flashback, because you open up with like the priest, Father James, in the game, in like sometime in the 2000s.
Back in my day.
Yeah, it's sometime he's clearly in his like 60s or 70s, maybe even his 80s at this point, and it's like sometime in the late 2000s or 2010s when this is happening, and it's all done through flashbacks and stuff, and it's a really cool framing device. Not a lot of games do that sort of thing. You'll have a lot of games that start in media res, like in the middle of a story or something, but this is literally like the story has happened and this is all flashback. Go ahead.
I'll say, because we're gonna jump into, weirdly, Dragon Age kind of has that vibe, kind of how it starts. It feels like it drops you like in the middle of something happening.
Yeah, you're right. It has a vibe like that. That's true, but but this actually is the whole flashback being the difference there. And so it's good. It's a good game. I was very much enjoying it. I'm still thinking about it now, even as I'm like playing Veilguard and everything. I'm like, I actually look forward to going back and finishing this story up, because I don't know where it's going to go or what's going to happen with it. And so that's kind of fun. It is grindy. It is too grindy for what it is. It is a decent attempt at an open world game for them to be like with stuff in it and extra content and whatnot that you do. It's very Assassin's Creed 1.
Oh yeah.
Which you did tell me. And I like that aspect of it, and I like that there's, you don't have to do everything. You can do this and you can do that, or you could do everything if you want to, but it has its problems. I am very tired of the Mafia games not having save abilities, like a save option, and you have to rely on checkpoints for everything. It's super annoying, and I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. It's like, oh, I failed this mission, or I just died or whatever, and now it's going to spawn me 25 miles that way, and I need to be over here where I died, and now I have to drive another 10 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever. And so there's a lot of that, and that's unfortunate. But that said, it's still a good first attempt. It's a really good first attempt at something that is designed to have that open experience. And some of the stuff that you're doing is kind of cool. I'm actually playing it like a stealth game. I have not swapped off of my silent pistol since I got a silent pistol.
Yeah, the siren for some reason in that game is the best. It's like more effective than a shotgun or an auto rifle or anything. The first thing I invested in was to make my handgun more accurate, and I just like snipe people with the handgun from like a distance to because if I'm over their head, they're gonna get hit with it because I have the accuracy maxed out, and so that's cool. Yeah, there's a lot to this game, and I have a lot to say. I'm gonna write a piece on Mafia for Season Gaming when I finish it, because I have a lot of thoughts on it. But on all three, right? Yeah,
it's gonna be on all three. I would say right now I rank it probably on par with Mafia 1. I guess it could overtake Mafia 1 in some ways, because I do like I think the story is a little bit more fleshed out in this one than Mafia 1, even if I personally have a more investment in the Mafia 1 kind of story, because I like just the stuff that I like that more.
More Godfather and Mafia than like kind of like a gangster. They kind of like the gangster side of things, or of Lincoln. So
but there are problems with 3 outside of that, like the way the sit downs are handled. Like after you take over it, you just go right to the sit down. You have to make a decision. You don't get to like think about it or anything. It's just like it brings you right into it. And I know that there's like loyalty, like if you don't assign things to a certain people, or at least a certain amount of things to people, you could like have them betray you and stuff like that. Like I'm trying to avoid that. I'm like looking at guides to not have that happen, because I'm not reviewing this or anything. So I don't really care if I avoiding that sort of thing, because I have like my idea of what I want to do, and I'm gonna see if I can get it to happen that way. But so it's got its problems. It controls really well in terms of the shooting. The shooting actually feels really good, and the story, like I said, the story is great. The shooting is really, really tight for the most part. The driving feels pretty good. You have this like slow down time ability that I really like, for that makes
straight out of GTA, basically.
Yeah, that's Franklin's thing in GTA 5. You're right. Yeah, I hadn't put that together until you said it. That's right. And that's cool. And those are all cool things, and I'm glad that they work well. I just wish that the little quality of life improvements were there. It's
like a fast travel, or the fact that the lighting is so messed up in that game that when it's like a dusk, it's super dark. Or like the
lighting's not so bad in this. The lighting's not so bad in this one. They might have fixed that in the remaster.
Okay, then they fixed it, because when I'm talking about Mafia 3, like at launch, that game had messed up lighting. The
remaster, I have not noticed that problem. I'm also on an OLED, so maybe the TV screen type helps or something. But
Mafia 3 never got remastered. You're playing the PS4 version.
No, this is they did remaster it. It is a definitive edition of it.
But it wasn't like they just call it definitive edition as just collecting the entire DLC packages.
Right. Yeah, I mean, maybe they cleaned it up. I don't know. Maybe they fixed something in that version when they put it all together. I don't know the finer details of what they did, but they called it the definitive edition, so I think of it as maybe they tweaked something.
It would make sense, like after years, because at launch there was a problem. Like it was like when it was like sundown, it looked like Hell's Gates open. Like
I've not had that issue, at least not yet. But it's really, like I said, it's really just the quality of life things. And the reason I put this even with Mafia 1 Definitive Edition, the remake of it, is really because I kind of view them as the same thing, where Mafia 1 was a really good story, and they did what they were trying to do. They are doing what they are trying to do. Like, they, in both of these games, they have done what they set out to, but they haven't done it perfectly. Mafia 1 has its issues, like I talked about before. I really like that game, and you know, in the hindsight, and after playing 2 especially, I've come to really enjoy that game. And I think there are room that they could have improved it, but they instead chose to go open world, so they're starting over, and it's like they're doing the same thing. It's like, so they're on par with one another. Maybe I'll come out and like Mafia 3 more. I don't really know it, but so far I'm enjoying it, and I'm very happy that I started playing it. I do wish I'd waited until Dragon Age was come out so I could just do it all at once. I hate putting this like long gap in there, but that's okay. But I'm enjoying it.
I know that feeling.
I'm liking it for sure.
So Don, Dragon Age.
No. I'll pass it. You take it first. You do yours first, and then you can come to me, and I'll close it out, because I don't think you have a lot to talk about this week, do you?
Actually, yeah, that's a good idea. So I can actually talk about Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D that I sort of alluded at the beginning of the show, and then I was able to confirm that I had been able to preview it. So Square Enix gave me the opportunity to play the first few hours of this remaster of the 1988 Dragon Warrior game that was called Dragon Warrior 3 back in the day, and now this is called Dragon Quest 3. If you're wondering why are they starting with Dragon Quest 3 instead of 1 and 2, Dragon Quest 3 is technically like prequel to the first 2 games of kind of like one set of stories, so that's why they did it that way. And Dragon Quest 1 and 2 are coming later. Dragon Quest or Dragon Warrior are considered some of the grandfathers of old school JRPG design, kind of like in the same vein as the original Final Fantasy games. In fact, these were like the direct competitors, because at the time Square Enix was 2 separate companies. It was just Squaresoft and Enix. This was the Enix RPG that was in direct competition with Final Fantasy, and you can see a lot of the same tropes of old school JRPG design in the way the adventure is laid out, kind of like the flow of adventure of kind of like top down RPG, kind of like in the vein of the Pokemon games, since Pokemon was kind of like the baby's first RPG, like dumbed down version of those kind of games. But this kind of like
I resemble that remark.
Yeah. and then Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy were like the more hardcore version of someone that wanted like an old school RPG back then that was turn-based, like a lot of stat thinking, a lot of depth in magic and abilities, and different class systems that you can do. And the big difference with that I'm finding with Dragon Quest 3 in the first few hours that I played versus something like the Final Fantasy Pixel remasters that came out 3 years ago, and also last year on PS4 and Switch, is that I'm noticing the Dragon Quest out of the 2 is a little bit more hardcore. It's so mechanics heavy that it's all about kind of like how you deck out the stats of your party, the personality of your party, like their vocations, and even kind of like being able to kind of change the vocations through some of the things that you find in the world. Like if they read a specific world, they will go from like a jackass to like a noble or something like that, and that can help the way they react while they're in battle and things like that. It's like, it's very nerdy, you know, for people that love like the different stats, or more like into D&D style kind of like role playing. It feels like I'm noticing a lot of that here, except there's no dice rolls, but it just feels very like a textbook, or it feels very textbook RPG in a way that when I transport myself back to that era, I could kind of get why this was like so intriguing. Unlike
do you wish there were dice rolls? Do you wish there were dice rolls?
No. Oh no.
Okay.
That's
just checking. Some people like the dice
RNG.
rolls.
Yeah, there's the only RNG you find is like the random encounters when you're like exploring and then you're stopped to do like the turn-based thing. So it's probably one of my bigger criticisms, because the Final Fantasy Pixel remasters, that's one of my favorite quality of life things that they did, that you can turn off random encounters and then you turn them on if you want to like start grinding up your character, or you want to fight something. They don't have that here, so there'll be times where you're like, yeah, I'm exploring the world, it's stopping me, I have to fight the 6 flying cats that are so that they can one-shot you, and sometimes you want to flee a battle, but it doesn't allow you to flee the battle because they started their attack. And if this is true turn-based RPG, like through and through, like it will allow you to how can I say this, you can automize how you want your party to attack. You always have like your main hero, which is like a nondescript hero, and a party of nondescript people. It's always 4. You can kind of set up their either attack formations or kind of what you want them to do in battle. Do you want them to be like show no mercy to these enemies? So like you let them just be like pick on their own accord what is gonna be, what the AI will think it's gonna be the best form of attacks against like their enemies. You can then be like, no, fight smartly, maybe do attacks or maybe do something defensive. Or you can ask someone, hey, you be the healer, or hey, just use attacks but don't use your magic. Or you can like set up an order, be like, I'm gonna literally tell you all why I specifically want you to do, kind of like a normal turn base. You have your menus to be like, I want you to attack, I'm gonna have you select the magic, you pick the magic, and then you just wait for your turn to come and then it attacks. It's like, it's very versatile, and I found that it's very easy to kind of get into a flow of, if you're just kind of out and about, like, and you get stopped by these random encounters, it's better for you to like just put it automatically, because these enemies are usually not the worst. But then when you're like in dungeons, like the one that I was at the end of the preview in this pyramid, I do not recommend doing automatically, because that's when you get overwhelmed with enemies. They straight up one shot you. It was like so annoying. And the worst part, like in this were like some of my annoyances of like what I played in the previous started kind of like creeping in for me. It's like this has a very obtuse way for you to revive your party. Unlike let's say a Final Fantasy game that you have like Phoenix Downs, or the tents or something like that, and then you have those items with you, or maybe you have like a raise magic. You don't get that here like early on. There are no revival items that you can find like early on. And even now, at the end of that preview, I only found like 2 like revival items that I could use. To revive your party, you have to travel all the way back to a town as you're carrying their coffin, go to a priest and have them pray to revive to revive your party. And
question for you though. So when they die, is this still that old style where like they die, they don't get experience if they die during a fight?
Yeah, they don't get experience if they die under a fight. Exactly. So
that's
even more annoying when you're like in a battle with like a bunch of enemies that you're gonna get a bunch of XP. If one of them dies, you're not gonna get that XP. And the good thing is that the game gives, it was just like, oh yeah, you're getting 480 XP. It doesn't like divide it in 4. It's like everyone gets 480 XP except the one that died. So I had that screw me over a few times.
Yeah, I had that happen in a fight in Dragon Quest 11 when I played that, and I immediately was like, nope, and I quit, reloaded, and did the fight again. It's like, nope.
Yeah, it's better to do that. And I feel like it's funny you mentioned Dragon Quest 11, because Dragon Quest 11 also has the automatic thing that you kind of like set the tactic and they do the attacks that you want to do, or if you want to be more direct. It's like they took that and put it here in this old game. And I feel a lot of the quality of life that you see like in this old school JRPG is more like in the traversal and also that combat. The fact that you can automate all of that can like speed up the process, and also you can speed up battles. Like turn-based combat can be really slow depending on the game. I'm glad that these games can be like, no, have it ultra fast. Have everyone do their commands and just boom, 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 finish, so we can kind of move on. And world exploration, it's like, it's weird playing an old school JRPG that points you everywhere. It's like old school RPGs is like, I don't know if you played those, Ray, or like even Pokemon games where like this, like you have to go into a town, talk to everyone, and they're gonna tell you hints of where you might be able to go, and then you have to kind of go explore.
Maybe you get a hint.
And maybe you get a hint, exactly. In this one, you can still do it that way. They added a quality of life where you can like record every line that you're being told from like the people you talk to, so you can kind of reference that as like a journal. But you have to like press like the option button, like if you're playing on PlayStation, to be like well, yeah, you're gonna repeat it, like you're gonna record literally all the dialogue that everyone has just by pressing like option.
Look, I'm used to visual novels. If it doesn't have a dialogue backlog to go back and review, like I don't know what you expect me to do. You want me to remember everything?
Yeah, and it puts that kind of like in the hand of the player. It puts it in the hand of the player to like press that to be like, oh yeah, I want to read, because you can only have like 30 reminders at any time, and then you can delete to your leisure if you've already done something that, oh, okay, this is from something old, I need to delete this. But then you can enable the map pointing you everywhere instead of having to rely. It's like it's gonna circle it in yellow, be like, go here. Like you can decide to play it hardcore if you want, but the game like automatically like it enables by default marking the map for you to go everywhere. So as a pixel art game, I would say that from the modern HD 2D like style that has come out, like that was popularized by Octopath Traveler, I would say this is probably one of the prettiest ones, at least more colorful. I love how it juxtaposes well-developed 3D environments done by like Unreal Engine, and then you kind of see like the pixel art kind of like as in contrast to that. that compared to Octopath that had almost everything be a pixel art almost. It's like this kind of like a difference between having pixel art and 2.5D that I feel is very pleasing when you look at it, and everything has been kind of like taken into consideration of like if you're in a desert whenever you're playing, it like the camera angles to where you are, so it feels like you're always kind of like in the environment that you that you're currently at, whether it's a castle out in the ocean or in a pyramid, things like that. So it feels, it at least like immerses you in that old school kind of way, and I do and I do kind of appreciate that. But the quality of life outside of like just exploration and kind of like that combat, it's still kind of annoying. It's like the old in item management and all that. Like the further I got into that preview, and I started getting more overwhelmed with like the items that you can get, and especially because when you get an item, it's just like, oh, you got this, it's going into the bag, and that's it. And then you have to kind of go in and read what it does. Sometimes like the description that of what it does is very vague and doesn't seem like something you may even want to use when you're like in combat. And then you have to kind of like individually assign it to like your party members. So there's like a lot, there's a lot of menu interaction.
Does it at least like highlight new item with like a star or the word new or something?
Yeah, it doesn't highlight new item as much as like it just keeps, you have to go all the way down to the pile for like the newer stuff. So you kind of go, so you
can
know,
you
like
sort it? Can you like say new to the top for me? Like, can you filter?
I know that you can filter it with especially in some items like by strength or things like that. At least you can do that, and at least you can kind of see what depending on the party you have, where you can have like warriors, mages, martial artists, thieves, and all that. There are some items that they'll be able to that you know you can equip to some party members just by hovering on the name. It automatically pops as like the green arrow or red arrow. That at the very least, you know, okay, this, he'll be able to use this, and this is gonna make it better. So I'm gonna put it with him and swap out the previous piece of gear, or not. Just let's just go sell it. So there are a bunch of kind of like traditional RPG stuff. Like I've only had experience with Dragon Quest XI myself. This has been like a series that it's very popular. It's sold like 88 million copies, so but it has not been widely available for many people. I even remember Dragon Quest 8 back in PS2 just from like a magazine. I didn't even play it. I only saw it. I was like, hey, it looks like Dragon Ball because it's from the artist Akira Toriyama, RIP. And I would say his art shines through in a lot of this game, and like some of the character designs, and even in some of the pixels, like you feel like you're watching pixel Dragon Ball characters sometimes, and it's actually it's really cute, and also more heartwarming considering we lost him this year. So that's kind of something that's been appealing. One thing I also noticed that if you put this game on the easiest difficulty, it's God mode. You can't die. Like literally, like it's an easy mode that's basically the equivalent of story mode. You're here just for the story. Put this here and you're never gonna die. Like the lowest your health is gonna get is just 1 HP. And you can literally just play like that if all you want to do is just play through the story without the annoyances of being in the pyramid, going in, being one-shotted by like a random group of enemies, having to exit the dungeon, go all the way to a town, have them revive, come right in, but you cannot re-pop in where you left. You have to kind of like restart the dungeon, and because it's randomized encounters, it's like it started getting to kind of like that friction. I was like, oh man, this is gonna be trouble. Like if enemies are kind of like this rough this early on, because this was like it's 6 to 8 hours, and I don't know how long. So that's why I was like, there's enough good stuff here, because like I know going back to an old school JRPG requires some effort, because quality of life has been like so important and I feel they have considered so many things, but there's still annoyances here. And me that I played the Final Fantasy Pixel remasters recently that accounted for so much quality of life, like expediting XP gains or coin gains or like the battles and things like that, is like that's something that for those older games, like it's so crucial, because this game could get really grind. It's like imagine then you're in level 13. To get to level 14, you need like 1200 XP. When you fight enemies, you get 28 XP. Start making the math. You're like, oh, okay, I don't know if I'm doing something wrong here, but this doesn't feel good. This doesn't feel good. So those are kind of like my only red flags. But for in a way, I see that it makes it more hardcore compared to something like Final Fantasy. Maybe that's the appeal. This is kind of like my first attempt at the Dragon Quest game. So
yeah, but 11 wasn't that hardcore.
Exactly. So, but it's a newer game that took itself more consideration. You're saying, right?
It's the combination of it takes that long to level, but also you're still getting one shot that I find kind of concerning when you put them together. Because if it takes that long to level, it should be because you're over leveled.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't be getting one shot.
Exactly.
And if you're getting one shot, you should be under leveled, and it should be easy to level.
Exactly. That was
right. If you manage to kill something,
and that was my thing. I was like, why are the XP gains so low, and why are these enemies like getting close to one-shotting me in a way that doesn't feel good? So that's why I was like, I was like, that's why I'm like, did something got messed up here, like in the balance, like where, because before that pyramid dungeon, which was the end of my preview, everything was smooth. I felt like I wasn't needing to grind. I felt like the characters were leveling up just right. I went through, when I fought my first official boss in one of those dungeons in like a tower, it was the first time I got a game over, but I was like, okay, I had it on automatic. I was like, okay, time to like put it in follow orders. I'm gonna like laser focus in and telling my characters what I want from them. I was like, I need everyone to focus on fire attacks and things like that. And that's where I succeeded. I was like, okay, cool. It was like, so the game kind of like will let you know sometimes maybe you need to strategize yourself. Don't just let the computer do that for you. But it was that pyramid level. I was like, oh man, and the worst part about that is like when I reached that pyramid was around the time my console died, which I forgot to mention about investments. Like it was so weird. It was so weird getting that, and then my console dying and me losing a lot of progress since then for like to try to complete the preview. I was like, gosh, man, this is rough feelings. But before that, the vibe was cool. It doesn't have bloat like you expect JRPGs are known for. It feels very lean, and it's
I don't know. I feel like your grind is a little bloat. You know,
yes,
a grind
that's the thing.
Is a way of bloat.
Before getting there, kind of like it felt very lean and kind of to the point, not bogged down with story. It's kind of like the story is pretty simple. It's like a hero's journey following their father to fight like a great evil. It's like it's very basic and from that thing, but it's like you being put into the hands of going into that adventure. So it's like that leanness is kind of appreciative, especially because you can see how overly long it can be for a JRPG to kind of really start sometimes. So at least it appeals that way. But the grind that was required from me for that pyramid is where I was like, I don't know about this. So I can't wait to see how the full game goes from there, like from that point onward. If that's just kind of like a weird spot in what was played, maybe they're gonna patch it and rebalance it, who knows. But again, it's a preview, so that's what I played. That's basically all I played because my console died. So.
It really sounds like they only did like half the work for this one, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's like it's there's obvious quality of life, but then there's obvious old stuff that is like, did they keep it just because that was the spirit of the game and they didn't want to rework it entirely? And that's like, there's a friction point between, they definitely considered were more well considered when it came to like remove friction in some areas, but there's still friction in equipment management and some of these grinds. So definitely like if you like that kind of old school JRPG, at least from what I've played, it gives that. I know you're not there, you're not for that, you're not for that, Don, but
not for the grindy portion of it, no.
Yeah, but
same.
But I will see. I'm definitely gonna play the entirety pretty soon. So
at the risk of making myself sound like a noob, I didn't know that Akira Toriyama was involved in any video games.
Oh really? Oh man, he has had many involvements, including what is considered one of the greatest JRPG games of all time, Chrono Trigger. It's which happened as kind of like when Square Enix saw that he did Dragon Quest, they kind of offered him, hey, do you want to make a game for us? While they were waiting on the next Final Fantasy, he came over and he helped them with Chrono Trigger, and that a lot of people consider that a GOAT JRPG. So people say
that's one that I hear requests for remasters on that one a lot.
Everyone makes
it's like, hey, you're remastering and re-releasing everything else in your catalog. How about that Chrono Trigger?
Yeah, everyone say that's gonna be the break glass in case of emergency for Square Enix, because it's that in Final Fantasy VII was that whenever that was announced, it's like, they broke one of the break glass in case of emergencies. Chrono Trigger is like their ultimate like Hail Mary if anything goes wrong with them, considering how it is. But lots to like about Dragon Quest 3 HD, but lots to have plenty of reservations of based on what I played. So, and with that done, follow up now from our last topic when you were last year, because when you were last year 2 weeks ago, we talked about our gut check about Dragon Age the Veilguard. What was your expectations like with the 10-year wait? how it was gonna review, like where the reviews were gonna land, and what
Yeah.
would the game need to do to make the wait be worth it. So just on the reviews alone, I'm just checking as of right now, it has, just based on Metacritic, it has an 83, and over on OpenCritic, I think it had an 82.
Yeah.
You were hoping this was gonna land on the 88, 89, and I told you the PC version on PC showed an 85. That was like, that was the most reviewed platform. I was like, if it could get around here, it's like good feel part. And so I feel it landed kind of like close to where things are. Obviously, a lot of this has been the most, in a year full of discourse, I feel this has been the most discourse that has been discoursed in regards to a specific game. Removing that, because I know there has been bad faith arguments towards the game, kind of like as a Dragon Age fan that knows the series has not been the same from one entry to the next. How are you feeling? And we may be joined by Steve.
So this is the biggest shift from one type to the other, undoubtedly. Origins to 2 is a big shift. It is a big shift because you remove the tactical element of it, but it still had a similar vibe because you still had companion control. You still had a ginormous swath of spells and things that you could cast for yourself, plus all of your companions, things like that. So that was a big shift. 2 to Inquisition is a shift kind of back towards what Origins was. It's not as big of a shift as away from 2 to Inquisition is not as big as Origins to 2 was, but it is still a shift back. This is a huge shift in the gameplay feel. Personally, I don't think it's for the better shift. I can understand that it may be a more appealing shift to broader audiences because we have plenty of our own friends in season gaming who are like, this is great. This is the best Dragon Age I've ever played. I love playing this. This feels great and all that. And I'm like, I'm super happy for you guys. I don't come to Dragon Age to feel this kind of gameplay.
Now, real quick, how do you play Inquisition? Did you use a lot of the tactical map, or do you use a lot of the let's just hold the right trigger and press the face buttons when the cooldowns are over?
Yeah,
like, how do you play it?
It's a mix of both. I played it on the normal difficulty and on the nightmare difficulty. So on the nightmare difficulty, you have to be tactical about it or you're screwed. You can't not be tactical on the nightmare for it. So it's just a mix of both. But really, the thing that you lose in Veilguard is the party control. And I know that they tried to play it off as, oh, you still tell your party members what to do because they have their 3 abilities and you have your 3 abilities, so you have all these abilities, but it's not the same. It's not the same because I'm not swapping to Harding and telling her to shoot or use this ability. I am playing my own character and momentarily pausing everything so that I can say, hey, do this thing. And then she can't do anything for like 45 seconds, which is insane to me, because in all the other ones, when you're swapping your party members, you're like this ability, and then just that ability goes on cooldown, and then you have all the other abilities, this ability, that ability, bing, 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 ability,
and you're controlling the party, like you're actually like in actual control.
Honestly, even if you didn't control the party, but not everything went on cooldown, I'd be a little bit happier. It's just you're very limited in what you can do with the party members because you only bring 2 of them now, which is super disappointing because I want to spend time with these characters, because despite what crazy people online say, the characters are actually really well written and they're fun to listen to, and I like hanging out with them. I just want to hang out with more of them.
I like it because I played a little bit specifically with that. I really love the very swashbuckling feeling this game has. It's a game that's having fun, despite the fact that there's still messed up stuff that happens. But it's kind of like I don't get too bothered at the fact that has kind of like a breezy thing. But I'm also not as invested, so I don't know how much that kind of plays into things.
So the breezy nature is not a big deal yet, because I'm about 34 hours in. I'm still in Act 1. I don't think the game is that long. I don't think it's like 100-hour game.
Yeah, I heard 60 hours.
But it could be, I'm doing everything and I'm still in Act 1, so there could be plenty of stuff left. I don't know. I really don't know. But the breezy nature of it and the lightheartedness, that's fine right now. because that's what they're going for, and I still think it's well written, and I don't think that there are weird moments. Everyone has a weird moment. Like I got my first moment in the game that people would, go rah DEI non, like I got the first moment like that after 34 hours in one conversation where one character said, it's something, it feels right that my mom says that I act more like a man than a woman. And I was like, okay, that's a weird way to phrase it, but okay, fine, whatever. That's one strange moment out of 34 hours that I've played this game so far. And so like I think you're right. The swashbuckly, breezy nature is kind of cool. Like that's the tone they're going for. That's fine, because the actual world that everything is taking place in is still dark and gritty and terrifying. Like it is. But I really want to, I just need to finish on the combat piece, because the combat is really what drives me up a wall. And that like, you don't
like mashing buttons.
I don't want the button mash. I don't want and it's fast, but it's slow, because I'm waiting 45 seconds for an ability, because you have this combo system where you apply and you detonate. Like you apply a status effect and you detonate that status effect. But let's do the math here. There's 3 companions. You need to apply and detonate. That takes 2 abilities from 2 of the 3 people, which means that when you have detonated, you're kind of just waiting for the cooldowns to go off so that you can detonate again. And that's it, because I can't detonate my own stuff. I don't have anything that lets me apply Sundered and detonate Sundered. I can detonate Sundered, I can apply Overwhelmed, but I can't detonate Overwhelmed and apply Sundered. So I'm just waiting, and there's so much waiting. I'm waiting for the healing to be available from the person, or I've got my potions to use. Like you're waiting in the combat, I feel, in a way that I was not waiting before. Even though you're always running around, you're always running and you're dodging and you're throwing your spells and you're slinging your knives. Like you're always
It always felt like
buttons.
everything recharged quicker in the last ones.
So. Right, but in this one, I'm just, for the cool abilities, the powerful cool abilities that aren't just me flinging magic bolts, or if I was playing another class, swinging my weapon, I'm waiting so much. And that's the biggest frustration, is that it's action-y, but it's action and wait. It's not like real time with pause. It's action and wait. Like that's the killer.
And real quick, have you not seen anything like in the skill trees that speeds up like the cooldowns? Like
there are a couple. There are a couple things that are like 10% cooldown reduction or 15% cooldown reduction. There is a little bit of that in there, but a lot of it is either. There's a little bit in the skill trees. A lot of it's armor based, where you have to like sacrifice something else, then you put like a different piece of armor that will do it. But it's like apply this status effect and everything else resets a little bit. And it's like, it's very specific. It's very narrow. There's no just like flat, this reduces cooldowns or anything like that I've come across.
Yeah. It's not like Spider-Man. It's not like Spider-Man too, that like perfect dodges and like constant attacks could like speed up like cooldowns. So.
Yeah, you have, so there's one status effect that you can apply on yourself called Quicken, and Quicken reduces cooldown time, but that's it. And there are a couple ways that you can do it. You can get a belt that lets you drink a potion that applies it, or you can cast a spell that will cause it to occur, but I didn't even know what Quicken did, because it was so minimally impacting me. I switched it away because I was like, I don't need Quicken. I switched out for a belt that gave me, when I drank my potion, gave me invulnerability. It made me not take damage for a few seconds. Like, give me that. What is this Quicken thing? Like, that's how it felt. And so I don't know how well tuned that is for me, for the kind of player that I am. Now, for someone like Ains, Ains Lagodin of Season Gaming, owner and founder of the website and editor-in-chief and all that, he's loving this game. He's loving playing it. He's loving this combat because he likes that style of game. And I've seen people describe it as very God of War-y. And I'm like, I don't really like God of War 2018's combat either. I think it's fine. It's not fun. I don't find that as fun. So in terms of actual fun in playing the game, this is probably the least fun I've had playing Dragon Age games, which is very unfortunate. And it's interesting to me because Mark Dara, who was the executive producer on the franchise for years and came back as a consultant after he left BioWare, said in interviews and in statements that he's like, I think this is the first time we've ever had fun combat in Dragon Age. And I was mixed on that at first, and I was like, I don't know if that's going to be true or not. Who knows?
I think
I just don't think it's true.
Yeah, I think I can see that perspective from someone that wanted these games to be actiony.
Yeah.
Because like from an actiony perspective, compared this to even 2, this is definitely better action. And even kind of like if you just wanted to play Inquisition as an action game, a game that you're holding the right trigger a lot to attack, on top of like just pressing like whatever you have assigned to your like face buttons. I feel this is a better like if your aim is action, I feel this is more this is more that style.
The thing is, you could hold the right trigger down if you wanted to, or you could start using all of your spells, or you could say, I'm going to use all my spells on my character and then switch over to Iron Bolt and then use all of his abilities, and then switch over to Cole and use all of his abilities, and then or I'm going to switch over to Dorian and use all of his abilities. Like and by the time you had done all of the abilities of these characters and were doing these things, your own stuff was ready to go, and you just don't have that here. So that's the disappointing side of things. That said, I still really love this game. I still think that it's so good to be in the world of Dragon Age, to be in Thedas. Thedas is a really awesome setting. It's really, really cool to be in Northern Thedas, which we've never really seen before. We saw the free marches in Dragon Age 2, but it was just Kirkwall. So it's been really fun to explore these environments. And I know it's not an open world, and that was an interesting choice to go back to away from an open world, back to more linear style missions and things. But that said, the world is still there. There's a lot of stuff to explore. You know, I was very surprised. I feel like if they oversold how fun the combat was, they super undersold how much there was to explore, because there's a lot.
They went back to old school BioWare kind of like hub areas, like from like what I saw from like what I've seen.
Not quite hub, because I feel like if you look at Origins, you had your hub, and then you could go out and explore a lot of things. This is not really a hub. Like, you have your lighthouse, the hub there, and you go to a zone, and then you just explore. But the zone itself is relatively linear in where you go. You just have a bunch of different linear pathways. So it's like, instead of a big open circle, it's like a bunch of forks in the road. And it's like, do I want to go to this fork, or do I want to go to that fork? Do I want to open up that secret doorway, or do I want to go through this unsecret pathway? Like, it would look very much like a tree branch, like tree branches and their windiness, if you were looking at it, versus a big open blob of exploration space like Inquisition was, or even Origins, which was much more open in its explore this area kind of feeling. It is. And I had this little bit of a feeling at first, and then on Bitcast, Hi Guy Travis made this remark during some conversations about Dragon Age, and as I have played more and more since then, I have to say it is a very Dragon Age 2 coded game. Everything about it feels like this is what they wanted Dragon Age 2 to be, if they'd had more time and budget to do it. Because Dragon Age 2 is very much, you're in your city, and you go off through these areas, and you go through them multiple times, and you go and have you have different stories and different things happen, but they're in the same location. And that has happened a couple of times in this game, where I go to Minrathous, and you're in Docktown, and you're only in Docktown. And so you only have the stuff in Docktown that you can explore. But Docktown is big, and there are more places. But like, I went there for the main story. I went to this one area, and then I came back there like 12 hours later for another story that wasn't like the main story, it was a side story, but I went back to that same area where the main story piece ended. I was like, that's Dragon Age 2. That's what Dragon Age 2 does. And so everything about this game is Dragon Age 2 coded, from the characters, the types of characters that they have, these like, you know, kind of bombastic personalities. You know, they all have their quirks, and everyone wants to romance everyone in the game, because everyone, you know, there's no limitations on romance. Like, it's very Dragon Age 2, and I like Dragon Age 2. And so when it comes to the storytelling and what's happening in the game and the lore, and like, there are huge lore revelations here. I'm a lore nerd. I follow, you know, these lore channels and things. Obviously, there's a lot of Dragon Age YouTubers out there. You know, Gilderthallen, #1, GOAT, love her. She's the best. Katie, you're the awesome. Jackdaw, also a great lore YouTuber for Dragon Age. These are great YouTuber channels that have a lot of information and really know this stuff like the back of their hand, even more so than I do. And so I'm really excited to start digging into their videos and their thoughts on things, because I know that the developments that even I've seen now are crazy, and I know that there are even crazier developments. I don't know what they are, but I know there are even crazier developments coming in the future, and that's really exciting for me. So I really like this game. I really like the story side of it. I really like the characters, and I actually still really like the writing. I don't think there's any writing issues, and I like the exploration, how they've done it, and I like the cities and the environments. I think it's gorgeous. I do think that they screwed up with the art style in that opening trailer, but they really nailed it in the actual game itself. I think it looks very pretty. It runs amazingly on my base PS5. Sorry,
and the environment specifically.
Oh,
the art is amazing.
Yeah. It runs great on my base PS5. I don't have the Pro yet because Amazon sucks sometimes.
Thanks, Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, I don't have it on PC, but I've heard everyone say that PC is rock solid. It runs amazingly. No one has any issues on PC with it, so it's solid from a technical foundation. The only thing that I feel like they whiffed on was the moment-to-moment gameplay, and that's a personal whiff. That's a whiff that is only going to impact me, and honestly, probably some of the more hardcore Dragon Age fans are going to be like, but as the hardcore Dragon Age fan, I don't really care. I'm still going to play it. I'm probably going to play it again and play a different class. Like, I'm going to go through this and see some of the different choices I made and just explore this game as much as I possibly can because I love it so much. And that's really where I'm at. I love this franchise. I still really like this game. I love this game. I don't have a score. I don't know yet if I'm going to do the review for Season Gaming or not yet.
They put you in the spot.
Yeah, Ain't has offered it to me. I just need to decide if I can be critical enough of it. But honestly, I may be able to handle a critique of it. We'll see.
I'm a huge Destiny fan and review Delightful and trashed it. So it's like sometimes like a fan can be like a 50-50. Sometimes you get like the most biased review, or sometimes you get kind of like the most critical reviews because you're such a big fan. So so don't discount yourself. Like there's still value with that as long as people know.
Yeah, and some of the people in the Season Gaming Discord said that to me. They were like, "Hey, you're a fan. Lean into your fandom of it. Use your bias for this. Don't try to hide it. Use the bias that you have for it." And I might. I'll see.
Look, I'll tell you, if Kingdom Hearts 4 ever comes out, none of you are taking it from me.
No, you're doing it. I'm giving it to you, Ray.
I'll duel you. Yeah. I will duel you for it, Ray. I will duel you.
Here's the thing:
rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah, unless I'll still play it, but I kind of like right now, especially with some of like these bigger games, I'm like, oh man, I kind of wish I was not reviewing this like on the timer because I kind of want to like savor it more.
Yeah.
No time for flower sniffing.
Yeah. And flower sniffing is all of it's all of the important thing. That's what happened to me with Rebirth, and I still like did a 132-hour review.
So on my end, really the last thing I need to say on Dragon Age is I don't know how it sold. I hope it sold really well. We haven't heard any numbers yet. It's only been out a week. It's the SteamDB had it capped. I mean, it had multiple days where it like broke its highest numbers, like 3 or 4 days in a row. It kept getting higher and higher. It'll probably happen again over the weekend here, I'm hoping, with a holiday weekend and whatnot. It's EA's biggest launch on Steam, of tracking ever in terms of like numbers. It had like 80 or 90,000 people playing the game, which is a lot of people at one time to play it on like the back end of platforms, which is, Steam is obviously huge, but this is one of the first day and date releases that EA's had in a long time on Steam. So like that's their audience on PC has always been in the modern times on the EA app and all of their stuff. So I think that's
garbage
pretty good.
EA app.
yeah. I think that's a pretty good sign. I think that, it was the number one pre-order or it had been in the top 5 and was number 1 for a really long time in the PSN. After Black Ops came out, it took over that slot immediately. So I don't know. We'll see. I hope it sold well. I think that if it sells, 1 million copies or a couple million copies across the board, it'll be enough to make EA happy because I think they know what to expect. And I think they're, in their financials, they said that they were happy with the review scores of it when it was in that mid 80s point, which is fair. I think it's, so far in my playtime, I can say that that's a fair score to hear that people have been giving it. I can see someone who really loves Dragon Age like I do, but also happens to like action combat, being like, this game is perfect. This is a 10. I could see someone doing that. I could see someone say, this game is not the action combat I like. No, it's not garbage. I don't think anyone could call it garbage, but I could say, I don't really like this combat because it works. It works. It is a functioning combat system. I could see someone say, I don't really care about this combat, but I still love the story. This game is a 7 out of 10. I could see someone say, I didn't really care that much about the story, but I really like the combat. It's a 7 out of 10. Yeah. So I can see anywhere in that range of scores.
It's just wild because I talked about some of the reviews with Paul, my podcast co-host last week, that it's we're seeing the Eurogamer 10, the IGN 9, the GameSpot 7, the VGC 6, that is seeing that it's an 84 that spans the from 10s to 6s in this game, and you can kind of see why.
Yeah,
like,
and
from certain angles. Like,
even I can see why, and I love this stuff. I can see it. I can definitely understand that perspective of someone saying this combat is not what I want here. Now, I don't know how many of these reviews are in good faith or bad faith when it comes to when they talk story stuff. I don't know how many people are being big whiny babies about stuff that they're just wrong about, and you know, I don't really care what sorts of character creator options you get or anything like that. I don't think that there's any messaging going on by having that available because it's a character creator. You're not saying anything in a character creator. I think that they need to, again, I need to see how some of these plot lines play out, and that was a really weird one about, you know, feeling like a man more than a woman, and I don't know if they handled that great, but again, that's one line. You can't, it'd be like, it would be like, oh, I'm eating this delicious steak, but this one bite of steak was extra fatty and I don't like fat, and the steak is ruined because I had a fatty piece of steak in my mouth. And like,
I like
what?
fat in the steak.
No. That doesn't make any sense.
Look, my favorite cut's ribeye.
Yeah, same, ribeye.
I'm a prime rib guy. I cut all the fat off. I eat the center of the prime rib. I'm good. You know, like that's.
I have sent back a prime rib. Or not prime rib, ribeye, because they did not cook it properly and the fat wasn't rendered at all. It was awful.
Oh, that's fine.
There is a certain type of fat on the steak that I'm like, no, this actually ruins the whole thing.
Sure, if it's on the steak, but this was the example of in your mouth. You know, like you didn't take a bite of it. You know, if you took a bite of regular fat on a steak, you're gonna be like, oh, I didn't want that fat. And you spit the fat out and you move on to the rest of the good steak, right? Like that's how you go. Unless you're my girlfriend who loves to eat the fat of steak, but that's another story.
That's me.
As long as it's rendered properly, it's delicious.
Yeah, render.
I don't like. I can't do the texture of fat. I can't do steak.
That's the thing. You don't.
It's got to be rendered right, and then the texture is good.
Yeah,
no,
and then you eat it with the meat. You eat it with the meat and with the fat all together.
You take the big chunk of fat and you like slice it up, and you put a little slice of fat with each bite of meat.
Nope. I take a prime rib and I go straight around it, and I scrap all the other stuff off to the side, and then I eat the main good part, and then I pick around the rest of it for like the soft, not fat parts. But anyway, the point is, anyone complaining about momentary dialogue scenes in games saying that they ruin a game is just crazy. Unless I'm not done. I'm again 34 hours in. This could become the main thrust of the game for all I know, and then they throw the elven gods to the side and they focus on the character who doesn't know if she's a man or a woman. Like that could be the focus, and that could ruin everything. I don't know. I'm not done with it yet, but where I am so far, that's not happened. That's not it. It's charming. The characters are charming. It's fun to see them interact. There are moments of just one example I'll give, and then we can move on because I know we have some topics to talk about. Is very early in, you have recruited Balara and Nev, two of the main companions, two of the earliest companions you get. And Nev is a famous detective in Minrathous, and Balara is a nerd, a dorky nerd who lives in the forest with her veil jumping friends and who fixes elven technology. And you walk into Nev's office, and Balara is just there fangirling over Nev. She's like, the Nev Gallus, like she's just freaking out like a fangirl over this character. And Nev is just like, Balara, I'm just Nev. And Balara's like, right, person. Like, it's so cute. It's charming. And I love that. Like, that is good character writing. That is good character interaction. And it's been fun to see that sort of thing happen again and again. And the last thing on the characters is the banter is fun. The banter between them is really fun. Banter has always been a BioWare specialty. They have really good banter between them. They do. The levels are big enough that you're running around and exploring. You hear a banter, and you stop and you listen to what they're saying. And they have a really good banter interrupt system where, like, if you run into combat, they'll like repeat the banter, which is important.
Yeah.
So.
Have you heard do you hear the argument that the writing in Veilguard feels like HR was in the room?
I have heard that. I have heard that. I don't know what that means. I don't actually know what that's supposed to mean.
Yeah, like when you say that, like that, because it's like it's writing so sterile and overly positive, and it feels like kind of like so overly curated with like no edges or something, because it's all meant to kind of send off conflict, because HR is supposedly
so I'm not playing, I'm playing the character who always picks like the thumbs up positive thing. So I don't know what it's like if you're playing a negative character, because that's not how I play games. So
I've seen videos like
allegedly
it's not
it can't be mean.
Yeah, you cannot be mean. It's like the most positive mean thing.
Even the mean options aren't mean, allegedly.
Yeah, and that could definitely be true, and that would be weird. But if that's a choice that they want to make, I don't really have a problem with that, because you don't have to be mean in a game that you're trying. You can say like a rude thing or a not super positive thing, and it doesn't necessarily, it's not always a problem. And also, if that's just the characters as they're written, what matters is, are they well written that way? Is this just a group of upbeat, positive people? If that's who they are, that's who they are. You can have, believe it or not, world, people can be positive about things. I am a generally positive person. It annoys my girlfriend to no end how positive I am about things. That's just my personality. And there are people out there who are like that. And if these characters are written that way, then they're written that way. And that's fine with me, as long as that's what was written. As long as what they're saying is in character and well written and entertaining, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Once I'm done with other stuff, this is gonna be the one that I'm gonna dive in when I get the pro, because
Good. Yeah.
I did like what I played, like from that intro, kind of like at least just what ends what was supposed to be the Dreadwolf before the game pivots. Kind of like, I remember you had mentioned that what this feels like with the name changes and all that felt like we skipped at Dragon Age 4 and went to like a fifth one.
We did, for sure.
And I don't know, because I was like, again, never played Trespasser. I never played like any of their DLC. I didn't even remember Solas. like to me, when everyone was just talking about Solas. And I completely had forgotten about the fact that there was like a post-credit scene at the end of Inquisition, because I shut it off as soon as I finished it. I didn't.
So the Inquisition post-credit scene, without spoilers for Inquisition, I guess, but the Inquisition post-credit scene is Solus seemingly sucking the life out of Mythal, Flemeth and Mythal. So that's and then obviously in Trespasser, again, spoilers for Trespasser, but that's the premise of Veilguard, is you discover that Solus did that because he's actually Fen'Harel, the Dreadwolf of the ancient elven gods, and he's looking to tear down the veil. And so Veilguard starts there. That's where it starts, is Solus is about to tear the veil.
Yeah, and then the veil opens, and now the elven gods are out.
Well, the veil kind of like cracks for a moment, and then you interrupt it, and they like manage to escape, is what it is. They escape while the veil's open momentarily.
Sorry, Elden gods?
Elven.
Elven.
Like
Darn.
Elven.
Way less eldritch.
Yeah, not eldritch. Although if you look up their design, they are eldritch in design. At least Gillenane is very eldritch in her design. If you just look up Gillenane Veilguard, like she has like tentacles.
Can you spell her name?
Yeah, GHIL apostrophe A. Yeah. If you look at her, she's like very eldritch in her design from what they've made her look like here.
Now, in the bitcast, they were mentioning that the villains now, because it's not Solus, it's like whatever like got out from that veil crack.
Yeah, Elgranon and Gillenane,
that they're very like mustache twirling, like one-dimensional villains. Like, have you gotten further to see like if there's more to them than what was said then?
No, I haven't actually, because so much of Act 1 is like gathering your people together and then figuring out what they're doing. It's like like Mass Effect. You're like, okay, I've got my crew, and we need to try and figure out what they're actually going for. And so I know because they had some light spoiler stuff, like basically they spoiled what the end of Act 1 is in like the combat demo that they did. So like you're like, I guess that's how. It's like that's the end. Like you don't know how it ends, but like the fact that the event happens, I'm like, okay, well. So I know what
everyone hated going. On top of that.
No, not that one. The combat demo, not the dragon fight, the combat.
Oh, okay. I thought the dragon fight from the State of Play.
No, no, I haven't seen that. I don't know what that was, but they had a combat demo where they just like showed how combat works and like the skill trees and everything. So in that demo piece, they like said where it was set, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess that's happening. So I know where it's going, and I know what's going to happen as the next part. I know what the conclusion of this first act is going to be. So I've not had a ton of exposure because they've been mostly off screen, but there's this like thing in this location that you can go to where you can like hear them talking, like you're listening in on them talk, and they're a little mustache twirly in that like conversation, but like I don't know, I have not had enough exposure to really comment on their status. So yeah, so that's Dragon Age the Veilguard. It's great so far. It's not perfect. It is what I want in story. It is not what I want in gameplay. I'm enjoying myself playing it so far. I'm going to keep playing it as soon as we're done here. That's going to be my plan for the evening, probably after maybe eating something. So yeah, Dragon Age Veilguard. Go buy it, people. It's Dragon Age. Support them.
And real quick, Don, is it your game of the year?
I'm not done with it yet. Can't make that call.
But just on the vibes alone, does it have a shot for you? Gut feeling?
Gut feeling, I'd have to look at my trophies and see what I've played, which is not the statement I would have ever thought I had to give. I would have thought I would say immediately yes, but
that to me says everything.
I mean, Rebirth came out this year, and Rebirth is fantastic.
Yeah. That's still my
pick.
I
really love Rebirth. I very much. I mean, I can check my trophies and see what I have played this year.
2024.
Yeah. I have not played a ton of things this year that came out this year, just because that's not how I play. You know, I don't do that. I play what I want to play. Again, I've been playing the Mafia games.
Yeah.
Let's see. Outlaws, Concord, Stellar Blade. Stellar Blade was really good. Dragon's Dogma 2, Rebirth. I would say it's between this and Rebirth right now. So yeah, it could end up overtaking Rebirth, and I haven't played Metaphor yet, and I'm definitely going to play Metaphor because I did the demo for it, and I really enjoyed that demo. So I'm going to play Metaphor, and I want to play Wukong at some point. But it's between this and Rebirth at the moment, just because of how I really enjoyed a lot of Rebirth, and Rebirth actually feels better to play than this. This does not feel as good to play as Rebirth.
Because that strategy, because it's not just a straight button masher. It's like the strategy that you can build with that synergy systems and your party and all that. It's like, and you control that party.
Yeah, completely. You do. You control that party in combat. You do control that party. That's right. And I have to, you know, there could be strategy on a higher difficulty in Veilguard. I'm playing on like the adventure mode, the baseline, and if you know, I will almost certainly go back for a platinum trophy for Veilguard at some point. You know, whether it's right now or I haven't looked at the trophies yet. There's a lot of chapters, a lot of trophies, so we'll have to see what it takes. But yeah, we'll see where it ends up once I finish. And I've heard from even people who didn't care a ton for the game really like the end of the game, which is really cool.
Everyone loves the ending, so that's why I really would love to see why.
That's good. I want to see why too.
And if it's the end, and if it's like the end of Dragon Age, like at all, I
don't think it's going to be the end of Dragon Age. But
by the way, real quick, how do you feel about the fact that they said no DLC?
I knew that going in. In the previews, Mr. Matty did a preview of it, and he had an interview with Corinne Bush, the game director. So I knew going in that they said they had no DLC plans. But if you'll recall, Final Fantasy 16 also said they had no DLC plans, and then they popped out 2 DLC. So I don't know if people buy the game. I just really hope it sells well. I just really need it to sell well. That's the most important thing. Just sell well. That's all. Yeah. Go buy it, please.
Ray, have you played Dragon Age ever, like back in the day, or is it?
No, I picked up Origins on GOG for like $5 a few months ago, but I haven't played it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've been wondering if you like kind of like that old school like Dungeons and Dragons RPGs.
I've played a bit of the original Baldur's Gate, if that gives you any frame of reference.
Okay, then I think if you play that, then you probably like Dragon Age, because it's like a spiritual successor from the same people that made the game.
You would like Origins at least.
I've also been what's the word? My boyfriend has shown me enough dialogue highlights from the first 1 or 2 games that I'm like, I think I would like this.
Oh, okay.
If only because I would really like Simran.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I briefly, when my consoles were dead, I started Origins. Well, I had already started Origins before, and I kind of went to that point where there's like a big battle that happens like after you found like a witch. If you know, like if you know, Don.
A big battle happens after you kill a witch?
No, after you meet a witch. Kind of like you something happens in your home, you join like some groups, then you have to go find like some blood vials or something for and then like a big battle happens.
Yeah, the Battle of Ostagar is what you're talking about.
I'm
like
there.
The opening of the game.
Yeah, so I'm literally there. That's the only thing that I played about Origins, because when I was like, well, my console's dead. I had bought Veilguard. I played it the day before. So I kind of liked this, and then
Did you
that was like
finish
the
the
last.
battle? Did you finish the battle of
I'm
Oscar or?
I'm still in the
Okay.
middle of that. I'm kind of like going through kind of like the castle.
Yeah, you go.
Uh,
You have to go up the fort and light the signal fire. Yeah, I
yeah.
know that
So
game very well, as you can tell.
oh yeah, it's that's how early I am, and I would say like writing is still peak, even just early on. Kind of I really like
What
the
did you
dialogue.
pick for your origin?
What? Because started playing it earlier this year, knowing that Veilguard
Are
was
you
coming.
a mage or what's your
No,
class?
I'm a warrior. I'm a warrior.
Okay, you're
Yeah.
okay. Are you
Yeah,
a
so-
dwarf or are you a human, or are you an elf?
I'm a human. I'm a human.
Okay, so then you are a noble.
Okay, yeah.
You're the human noble. That's it. There's no option. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds right. I like my novel like
Yeah.
human
Well, so
vanilla characters.
there's dwarf commoner and dwarf noble, and then there's city elf, and then there's Dalish elf, and then there's mage, and then there's human noble. And there was originally supposed to be a human commoner, but they scrapped that one in the end. So there's human noble is the only way that you could be a human warrior.
Yeah. Makes sense. Like there's something appealing to it. The game looks like ass on Xbox, but it runs at 60 frames at least. So it's like I don't have the
nostalgia. Needs a remake. So badly.
And it sucks that they did all of those games in separate engines, right? That it's like
well, Origins and 2 are like evolutions of the same. Like, there's a through line of those engines more or less. But obviously Inquisition is Frostbite, and I mean Veilguard is Frostbite too. Technically,
they mastered it because there was like a lot of in the Jason Schreier book, there's an entire Blood, Sweat, and Pixels, an entire chapter
I read
on Inquisition.
That's the reason I bought that book.
I bought it for Destiny and Uncharted 4 and Star Wars 1313. Dragon Age was just like there. I had not played it at the time when I bought that book.
I see.
So yeah, that's Dragon Age. I can't wait to maybe if you reconvene in 2 weeks to see if you've beaten it and how your opinions have changed on that one. And maybe I will have played it by then.
Yeah, 2 weeks is going to be rough because I'll be out of town, but yeah, we'll see. We can talk about that offline.
Yeah, that'll make sense. So real quick, like just a couple other hello, there's a lady.
Yeah, she waved. Yeah, she saw him. She waved.
Yeah, so
I don't think she saw it. Tell her to wave back.
Yeah.
I'll tell her later. I don't want to scream.
Yeah, so real quick, just 2 topics which are funny that happened like this week. Obviously the expected one because of when we're recording this. The PlayStation 5 Pro is out. You can, if you pre-order, you probably got it now, or if you order it on Amazon, you're getting it on the 12th because Amazon sucks at delivering anything the day off. I don't
know why they have guaranteed delivery dates,
right? And
like,
it never happens.
They
never do it. Yeah,
they're not even consistent with pre-orders of books anymore. Like that used to be pretty consistent. Like it would get the release day, and now it's like I can get it better from like any of the bookstore chains.
From my digital.
Yeah.
And there it is. She's coming. She waved. And so yeah, and I actually bought mine today. From even though I had pre-order, I had and he left. Yeah. Even though I had a pre-order, we're waiting. We are waiting. We are waiting on Don. We are waiting. We are waiting. We are, and there is the cat.
This is a different cat. This is Michigan J Cat. He is named for the Looney Tunes frog because his meow box is broken and he croaks instead of meows. So he has a frog name.
Yeah, and the cats from my podcast co-host Paul are Raspberry and Felix, like Felix the cat. You're back. You're muted, Don.
I'm back now. Sorry.
We have 10 cats. Only 3 of them were ever likely to show up. So we've gotten 2 of the 3.
Out of 10, dang. Well, it makes sense. My grandmother.
Some of them are outside only.
Yeah, my grandma had like 11 cats at one point this year, out of 2 like female cats that she forgot to spay. But kind of like I was saying there, I had a PS5 Pro pre-order that I canceled because it was gonna come much later, and then today I went to Best Buy and I saw it. I was like, it's actually available. I clicked in. It can be picked up now. Got it in, and my sister's got it, and I'm getting it on the 20th. So some of the reviews had come out, and kind of like the consensus about it, kind of like it's interestingly what you would expect. So for example, there's like the GameSpot review that it's titled "Powerful on Paper, Ordinary in Action," and kind of like its closing paragraph says that. According to Timur Hussein, the reviewer, he says, what Mark Cerny and the engineers at Sony proposed to do in the PS5 Pro reveal has been achieved to a degree. The gap between how a fidelity mode looks and the way a performance mode plays and feels is smaller. Having a technology like PSSR or PISR and a machine learning chip in consoles is also impressive. But for now, all of this is only exciting on paper. It's not enough to recommend over the alternative, cheaper options. And ultimately, there is still a choice to be made between better visuals and performance, just with a less noticeable trade-off. I hope that one day the PS5 Pro really shows off what it can do to elevate games. But for now, this is a console you should only get only if you've got cash to spare and just want to know you have the latest version of the console. For everyone else, a standard PS5 will do just fine. Then the IGN verdict says, considering what the PS5 generation has largely been described as, what if the PS4 was faster? It's a little difficult to get all of that excited about a console that promises to be a faster PS5. The PS5 Pro delivers on that for sure, and if you find the standard PS5 leaving more to be desired from a technical perspective, it's an interesting prospect. Running Pro enhanced games in a new performance mode gives you essentially the old fidelity modes now targeting 60 FPS, sometimes with extra improvements. Sony's AI-powered PISR upscaling tech is certainly impressive when playing games that have been updated for it, giving console players the same type of image quality and frame rate improvements that Nvidia's DLSS has promised on PC side in recent years. You're not entirely free from compromises because you often still have to choose between the new standard and even better looking fidelity modes at 30 FPS, though I found going with performance an easier option. At $700, it's not cheap, so you have to really desire that visual upgrade knowing that it doesn't transform the gameplay experience at a fundamental level. And to be fair, Sony never said it would. So as it stands, the PS5 Pro is an essential, but it's certainly nice to have. So that was always going to be the, I feel like this kind of makes sense just based on the price, because it's like the base PS5 you were mentioning, like with Dragon Age, the Veilguard, like it runs Veilguard really
better,
great.
and it's beautiful. Yeah, I'm playing in performance on it. Yeah,
yeah, and it's not too heavy visual compromise. I feel like this year in particular, I feel the Rebirth and Outlaws were probably the most compromised performance modes that I've seen. Of like a bigger
I had the 40 hertz mode for Outlaws, so I didn't suffer as much. I have to, the biggest disappointment with the PS5 itself, I think, is what the PS4 was faster or whatever. I don't feel as though they've actually taken advantage of having the faster SSD in terms of their game design choices. The demonstration of what was it, the Jack 2 level that they put on the screen, and they were like, the whole reason for these winding pathways is because it had to load and pull it. Like, I don't feel like anyone's really done anything for that. I mean, it's great to not need to wait for the load times, but I feel
level design is still the same.
It's impressive that they, like, the SSD was supposed to make it so that they didn't need as much space for games, and you can only hold like 6 games on a PS5, because the thing is, developers' ambitions will always expand to the limits of what the technology available can do.
Yeah,
exactly.
Sure.
Yeah, and saying that they won't is just like kidding yourself. It's even kind of saying like, why are they always targeting 30 frames when it's clear that the gamers really like 60 frames and all that? Is just that
it's because they want to do way more than they can accomplish at 60 frames.
Yeah,
and and frames don't sell games because you can't show a frame rate like
exactly that. Not like a screenshot that you can kind of see, like, look, all this reflections and puddles in Spider-Man 2 now. That is like a return to puddle again. It's like, it's so hilarious how they reflect, like, especially I saw videos of Spider-Man 2's new fidelity mode, which is 30 frames mode. That is like, the reflections is like feeling like holding a mirror everywhere. It's like reflections everywhere. It almost feels too distracting how much reflections there are. That is like, well, if this is how you're gonna sell like Fidelity Plus, it's like, yeah, it makes sense. I was going back and forth with Eric today because it's a kind of like because he said that he doesn't see a use, or kind of like if it's worthy or not. And to me, like, on like PS4 Pro last time, which was like, the sell was easier for the same price as the launch PS4. If you have a 4K TV, this is compatible, and the games it's gonna take advantage of the 4K.
That's another thing, is like, the better the console gets, the better everything around it has to be to actually display the difference and take advantage of the difference. And I'm like, do people have like TVs and setups that where it matters? I don't know.
Some people do.
Don does, for example. Like, your TV is like, how big's your TV? There's 75, right?
The one in my condo is a 77. The one here is a 65.
Okay, but in an apartment,
only 65.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the apartment it's
tiny.
smaller.
Yeah.
No, it's not tiny, but the actual setup is smaller. So like the TV is literally like
right in
here,
front,
and then the couch is like back here. Like it's really not. It's like that kind of space difference. You're very close to the TV no matter where you are.
And I have, like, for example, I have a 65 also literally right in front of me, right where I have my monitor here. I have it here.
Yeah, this monitor is a 32. So
yeah, so usually the bigger TV you go, like, you will want a machine that can at least take advantage of kind of like the bigger screen space. If you have something lower than a 65, don't get a PS5. Like, do not get a PS5 Pro. I feel basically like compared to last time that it was like, oh, if you got a 4K TV, PS4 doesn't do 4K output. This does, and it's gonna take advantage of that. We're doing technology for making the games look better in 4K. This has definitely been more like, okay, we've introduced fidelities and performance modes from the very beginning of this generation. A lot of people have really taken to performance modes because almost every game is rare a game that doesn't launch with one.
Right.
It's like I can count on 2 that remain 30 FPS. Like Gotham Knights is one that never got 60 FPS on console despite everything.
Yeah.
And Plague Tale for a while also didn't, and now that has 60 frames also.
That had the 40 FPS mode though too. The 120 down to 40 at launch. Yeah.
Exactly. So if you had the technology, you could kind of take advantage of that.
I did.
Yeah, but I didn't. So I could feel the 30 after being in 60 frames land for a while.
Yeah, and Plague Tale has a lot of rats. You need the frames in Plague Tale for sure.
Yes, and then there was this year Dragon's Dogma 2, unlocked frame rate that kind of hovered more in the 30s, and then that was
in the cities,
especially in the cities, it was like dropping beneath 30. But it's rare for a game to not launch with a performance mode, at least on the PlayStation side, because on Xbox they've been launching at 30 and then eventually they patch it. So the PS5 Pro is literally like, in your TV setup, if you like 60 frames, do you like how the games look? If your answer is yes, do not buy a Pro. If your answer is no, I feel this could look better, then you go into, okay, is it worth this amount of money to get like a better looking version of this mode that you enjoy playing? And objectively, like, playing at 60 is just crisper and more fun and more responsive. And any game that's more responsive is always going to be more fun to play inherently. But I know there's some people that can make it work at 30. Like,
no matter what Travis says, no matter what Tie Guy Travis says, calling people frame rate fascists.
Yeah, I would say like a 30 frames game has not ruined it for me, like, entirely, because I get used to it. Because like, if you work around the limitations, like, a game is a game. We played games in 30 for a while, so it's like I feel like the only way that it's like, if people say games ruin just because it's 30, I agree slightly with the frame rate fascist angle, because it's like okay, but is it a bad 30? Gotham Knights was a bad 30. It was a 30 and it ran at 20 many times.
Frame pacing.
Like, and frame pacing is like a big thing that can like really mess up things. So a perfectly frame paced 30 works. So it's like it sucks that it's not 60, but it's not unplayable. So I feel it. Go for it.
All right, this is going back a little bit, but your comment about the PSSR, aka Pisser, years ago, when I still followed League of Legends, like, game news, not just esports, they had a piece about, like, this is how we name our champions, and one of the steps was they take the possible names and give it to all the localization teams and make sure it doesn't mean anything crude or inappropriate. And it blows my mind that apparently major corporations don't have somebody, preferably a room full of middle schoolers, read their acronyms.
It's so funny how like Pisser has just become like the thing, how they call it, because it's like, it's funny. And it's like much easier than just saying, oh yeah, it's PSSR, PlayStation Super Spectral Resolution.
Yeah. I mean, let's not forget, the Xbox One is the X-Bone.
X-Bone, yeah. I'm playing it on the bone.
So no one is innocent in this one.
Yeah, it's just so funny. But like, I would say like to me, how you're gonna say?
My boyfriend was watching a streamer play Shadows of the Damned Hella Remastered.
Oh.
It is a survival horror game that is 70% dick jokes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's straight
Your gun is called the Boner.
Yeah.
Because it's a cursed skeleton demon gun.
Yeah, that's 2011 humor. And they didn't change it. It's like, it's straight. I'm glad that they kept it intact, because that's how it was like 13 years ago. But yeah, like for me with the Pro, like, my TV is right here. I am noticing now, like I like playing at 60, but I'm too close to this TV to like really enjoy like the visual field. Constantly, I'm like, gosh, I don't like how this looks. I'm switching to 30. Cool, it looks pretty, but I'm like, if it's feeling sluggish, I can try to. That's what happened to me with Outlaws. I played Outlaws the majority on 30, and I was like, man, but it runs well at 60. This sucks. Reavers was another one. It's like it runs super well at 60. Gosh, it's so blurry when you're like in the open world. So back into 30, and that game had poor how can I say this? Had poor motion blur that didn't kind of mask some of the jerkiness of being like, you know, so it felt like a sluggish 30 for like when you initially played it. I was like, this is really pretty in still images. This is a beautiful world, but gosh, what I wish that this at least there was like a compromise for this to look like play like 60, but at least look like this. And I feel this that's the game for the Pro right now that a lot of people were waiting for the Pro on, because it's like giving that, not a choice. I feel like the fact that you're given the choice right now, sometimes can be really annoying, because it's like I like the idea of just choosing a Pro mode and be like, that's the mode that's gonna give me like beautiful enough, is gonna run well enough, and that to me is worthy enough. And also the way I'm gonna recoup whenever when I recoup the investments, basically, because you can basically sell your console and then just kind of pay the difference. That's ideally what you would want to do. So you get into a payment plan, PayPal Pay in 4. I recommend it.
Yeah, the worst thing with like selling your consoles, if you're trading it in, and then you end up like you can't transfer stuff because the trade-in has to happen before you get the console. I did that once with my PS4 to the PS4 Pro, and I did not realize that. I had saved all the stuff, like the screenshots and recordings that were on there on a thumb drive, but I didn't know that you couldn't move it to a new console. I thought, so
that sucks.
It did. Lost that Dragon Age the Dragon Age Inquisition Platinum recorded footage. The footage, not the save.
At least you just still have kind of like the recorded kind of like achievement there.
Yeah, I mean, I still technically have that file. It's on a computer somewhere at my parents' house, or
I would say the review, like from the reviews that I got from the Pro, like the IGN and games, what are kind of like what I expected based on its price proposition, what it really is. Like the Eurogamer like deep dive is the one that made me more excited about kind of like what it means. I actually recommend people like read that one because it's thorough. This guy's no tech. If you're interested in tech, Ray, even if it's a lot of very high-end information, they love putting very complicated terms in dummy terms. That's why I love them, because that way I feel like I have more understanding of like what I should look for tech, if you care about tech at all. I actually recommend that, because they still come into a conclusion that it's like, hey, look, this is probably the best ways to play, but it's not essential. PS5 is still fine. Like, for example, you don't have a PS5 yet yourself, right, Ray? Your boyfriend has.
My boyfriend has it. Yeah. I still have a PS4 Pro. Because I mean, most of my gaming I do on PC or Switch anyway, or phone.
Yeah. And maybe by the time like Kingdom Hearts 4, like whenever that happens, that will be your upgrade.
It'll be worth having a PS5 from my own.
Exactly. Like, except but in your case, like I feel maybe a normal one will be good enough. You played in Switch for a while and it hasn't bothered you.
Alex, you can sell it to her. You can sell it to her when you get your Pro.
Yeah, international shipping would be like very like arm and leg expensive for her. Yeah, but
oh well.
But yeah, I actually recommend like if you want like the really nitty gritty of like what that actually does, I'd recommend the Eurogamer review. And then real quick, just another topic before we move into like some of the game releases for the next week. Weirdly enough, during the election, Nintendo tweets, hey, the next Nintendo is gonna be backwards compatible. That was one of the freaking funniest, most hilariously timed tweets that I've ever seen, because they tweeted that right as the count started, like as right as kind of like they started doing the vote counting, and then suddenly randomly it's like, oh yeah, don't worry, like if you've been buying a bunch of your Switch games, they're gonna be compatible in the new one. And it's funny that can be news, because obviously you would expect, but it's Nintendo. That's like
that's the thing. It is Nintendo, and that's why I took it for granted that the Switch 2 would be backwards compatible, because for their handhelds, they've always been one generation backwards compatible. So not for their home consoles, but that for as long as I have been getting Nintendo items, a handheld thing has always been backwards compatible one generation.
Yeah.
And
GBA,
then the Switch,
GB color to GBA. I remember putting the big slots in the GBAs.
Yep. And the original DS still had the GBA, which is why I have a DS and a 3DS, because I have a GBA game.
Yeah.
The 3DS could play DS, so it's always been one generation backwards compatible. So I just took it for granted that Switch to Switch is going to be backwards compatible, and apparently it's news, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's because like from Wii U to Switch, zero backwards compatibility. And because Nintendo has always been so backwards in so many ways, like, oh, for you to do game chat, you have to download the phone app to be able to do game chat if you play one of their online games. So they're always like the most Byzantine, like most obtuse company when it comes to things that you cannot, that you couldn't take for granted that they could easily do like a Switch 2 and not make it backwards compatible. So they just come in and be like, oh yeah, it's gonna be backwards compatible, don't expect any more news from the Switch from like for the rest of the year. That's what I found funny. But oh man, if I was Jason Shard, I was like, hey, I need Jake Taper to like break into the breaking into this into this news. It was so funny.
I'm glad it's backwards compatible. It makes sense. I mean, like Ray was saying, even the consoles have been backwards compatible for a while, because the Wii was backwards compatible with the GameCube, and I never had a Wii U. I don't know if it was backwards compatible with
was
it? There you go. So that's two
Wii
generations.
U was backwards compatible to the Wii.
Was it backwards compatible to the GameCube too?
No.
The Wii was. The Wii was.
The Wii U was backwards compatible to the Wii, not to the GameCube. Once again, one generation
one
back.
generation, yep.
Yeah. But then, like, for example, from Nintendo to Super Nintendo wasn't backwards compatible with the NES, and neither was the N64 compatible with the Super Nintendo, or the GameCube was with the N64. They started backwards compatibility with the Wii, and the handhelds were more where you saw that, like from the Game Boy to the Game Boy Color, then the GBA, and the DS,
to the DS to the 3DS.
Yes, they at least been consistent. At least some of that spirit is still there. And I tell you, if they were gonna do backwards compatibility in the Switch 2, I think there would have been hell to pay, because a lot of people have.
It wouldn't have sold.
It would have been funny.
Yeah,
it wouldn't have sold, even with the scarcity that the artificial potentially scarcity that they always have. It wouldn't have sold.
Yeah, they
would have just sat there.
Yeah, they love doing like artificial scarcity. That was usually the famous blue ocean strategy they used to adopt before the Switch. The Switch is the first time that they were like, we're not doing the blue ocean strategy. We're just gonna put it out as many as we can make, and they kept selling out because there was actual demand. They didn't like. It was
years, and you still couldn't find them on the shelf.
Yeah, took me two to get mine. I couldn't get.
I mean, I waited to get mine. I hardly play my Switch. I waited to get mine, and then when I bought my girlfriend her Switch, I bought her a one off of eBay, because I didn't want to contribute to their sales numbers anymore. So,
and they're still like selling them.
I bought mine from a friend, my boyfriend's technically manager. He runs most of the day-to-day. She's technically the manager. I bought her Switch because she was. They already had another Switch in the household, and they were using it mostly as a home console. So
makes sense.
Mine now.
I still have my my launch Switch. Like I never upgraded to the OLED, and I never upgraded to but the secondary one that was like the handheld only one, the light.
The light. Yeah, I have a like not a launch. They had two Switches. They had the launch Switch, and then like a couple of years later, like 3 years later, they released one that had improved handheld battery life, but wasn't a different screen or anything. That's the one that I got.
Yeah, makes sense. So yeah, because like they did like a small revision, then they did the screen revision.
Yeah, that's what I got. This tiny revision. It was just the battery life revision. That's the one that I got. Yeah.
Yeah, mine is still like that old revision that doesn't really hold in handheld, but yeah, like now we know that was backwards compatible. Like, when do you think just real quick, like if you were to bet, when do we hear the info of this thing, and when does it come out?
January, and it'll probably be out in like April. I think they'll do a 3-month lead.
Last time it was, they gave like the price and everything on January, and they launched it on March. This time they said that it's not coming earlier than April. So my big question is,
will they're pushing the fiscal year. They're probably just going to push the fiscal year and do it in April.
Yeah. And I also wonder, maybe do they feel confident enough to maybe do it like this is going to be the big ticket item for the fall? I feel they could because now they have like strength. I feel like when they released
Do they
it,
have
last
to
year,
though? Like, is there a reason to do that? That's the question.
yeah, just to kind of like maybe just squeeze more out of the normal Switch. Who knows? Because they announced that there's plenty of games on the Switch. They put like a big list of still a bunch of games that are coming to the Switch like early in 2025. So maybe
I'm guessing launch summer 2025. Or
I can
launch.
see it. Maybe August. Maybe I think the 3DS. No, actually no. It was that the price cut was in August because the 3DS launched in March, and it was not selling. And then they cut the price for like by like $80. I remember, and it was like the ambassador program back in 2011. So it's just so funny. The history repeated itself. Like the same week that the Pro console of PlayStation launches is the same week of an election that went a certain way, and then Nintendo system was like is waiting in the wings for the next year.
Yep.
Times of flat circle, people.
And apparently GTA 6 isn't going to launch till 2028.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, they certainly didn't want to. Yeah.
Yeah, they were just so relieved not to be launching GTA 6 in the Trump presidency. Well,
That's funny. I
horse's
saw that
mouth.
pop up.
yeah, I'm like, I know Take-Two is not gonna like let that. They already spent too much in that game, but
I mean,
yeah.
Take-Two
They've
did
gotta launch
confirm, and they did confirm today that
Mhm.
it is still launching fall 25 in their financials reports. Those today or yesterday they confirmed that. So
yeah, which basically means no later than spring 2026. They always kind of had like a last minute delay the last few Rockstar games, but that's still just so funny.
well,
like,
Red Dead 2 is a full year. Red Dead was supposed to be 2017, and they pushed it literally just 1 year.
That
So
is,
I don't expect that this time, but who knows?
It's been cooking way longer, way longer.
Yeah.
So, and if they keep pushing weird, like that's the thing, like release it now, or now you're gonna have to keep rewriting and add more parody in this perpetually parodic world. Where parodies like are living reality now. So,
It's more interesting in that way.
yeah. Satire is well and truly that. And on that and on that note, let me read. Yes, as we're closing down, I'm gonna read us the release dates for the week of November 10th to November 16th. So coming to PC, we got Everhome on November 11th. Coming to PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC, we got Farming Simulator 25 coming on November 12th. Coming to PS5, PS4, Xbox Series X and S, Xbox One, Switch, and PC, we got Tetris Forever on November 12th. Coming to PC is This Game Trying to Kill Me, coming to November 13th. That sounds like a game you should play, Ray, for some reason. Feels like
I will happily watch streams of that.
Yeah.
That's how that's gonna go.
Yeah, on November 13th, we also got Songs of Silence coming to PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. On November 14th, we got on the Quest, we got Dig VR and Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D Remake coming to PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and Switch, alongside Flint Treasure of Oblivion, also coming to PS5, Xbox Series X and S, on PC, alongside Lego Horizon Adventures, also coming to PS5, Switch, and PC, alongside Mind Cup, also coming to PS5 and Switch and PC. A lot of games coming on November 14th. Then on the 15th, we got Follow the Meaning coming to PC, Blood Dome 99 also coming to PC, and finally Great God Grove coming to Xbox Series X and S, Switch, and PC that same day. Any interest in any of these?
Well,
okay, Ray.
I just downloaded the demo for Everhome because that's a cozy game. So that's one nice. I am obligated to look at. Also, I haven't gotten a new cozy game in a while, so.
Yeah, and there's also Farming Simulator 25. that's technically
Farming Simulator is like weirdly it doesn't register for me as a cozy game, because my impression has always been that it takes itself too literally, like, too realistic. Cozy games mean that cozy games need lower stakes and more simplified and usually cuter.
Okay. All right, I can get behind that cozy definition. Yeah.
So for me, Lego Horizon, at some point, I've never played a Lego game. So
you're gonna make an exception.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll do it immediately at launch. I'm sure it'll still sell fine even without money at launch, but I will be picking it up at some point just to support Horizon. Horizon's literally the reason I have a PSVR 2, which reminds me, since I've been back, I forgot to have my PSVR 2.
Hell yeah.
I've not
Gosh,
used it in a while, but
yeah,
I
I
have
would
it.
love to play Resident Evil 4 VR. I heard it's really good on that one. So and it's free. It was like a free update to play on PSVR 2. Yeah, to me that Little Horizons Adventures game I'm interested in, and obviously Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D remake. I'm reviewing it. My review is gonna come sometime next week. You'll see it live when it goes live.
Can you say the embargo? You can't say the embargo.
I can't say it. So
can you say
Great
when
God,
you can
Grove.
say?
I can say probably the day before the embargo.
Gotcha.
Yeah, according to the instructions, but just rest assured you'll see that those reviews will pop up before the game comes out. When? Just tune in.
Great God Grove also looks utterly ridiculous.
Really?
Tagline when I open it on Switch is suck up and launch speech bubbles to save the world from apocalypse.
Huh.
Okay. That got
Pocky
my
like the
interest.
candy snack thing?
Yeah.
Huh.
Oh man, that is fun.
Dash Pocky like the stick thing dash lips like on your face. Somebody does not know what an apocalypse is, but they're trying.
Yeah.
What is
Oh,
this? Flint Treasure of Oblivion, because I keep forgetting. It's like, no, it's not Flintlock, which was the okay, this is a strategy game. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, so no, it's a tactical RPG in a war. It's set in a world of pirates. Huh.
Arg.
Look, I already had my pirate fill of garbage this year with Skull and Bones. Sorry, Hogue. So I'm not doing another pirate game anytime soon.
Excuse you. Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii comes out very soon.
I mean, anytime soon this year. That's still 2025. I think
that is soon though. It's not that far. It's February.
Yeah,
so.
it's February. And it got
That's
punted
3 months
up.
away. Not to
Yeah,
give
and
anybody else an existential crisis, because that definitely didn't give me one. That's 3 months away. It's February of 2025.
Yeah, we're gonna be there in the middle of Project 2025, so that's happening. But and with that, we reached the conclusion to this week's episode. Ray, where can people find you?
I'm Sardonisms on pretty much every social media site, and I'm also pretty much dark on every social media site. I will pop up hopefully soon. I'm working on something for Season Gaming if it takes shape. But otherwise, no, you'll find me whenever I come back out of my hidey hole.
Yeah, you'll probably find her in the SD chat on the Bitcast on Sundays. Don, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Joseph _La _Russa. You can find me on Season Gaming as DonLionheart. Please check out my Life is Strange review, Life is Strange Double Exposure review. It is live on both the YouTube channel for Season Gaming and the website, like I mentioned at the start of the podcast. Check it out. Buy the game. It's great. I think it's sensational. It's better than great, really. I think that anyone who's a fan of the series will like that game, and I think that it's a pretty good review, if I do say so myself. I kept it under 2,000 words this time. My last review was like 5.5, so
for Ara.
Yeah, with Ara. Yeah. So it's good. I think that everyone, like I said, who's a fan of the series, or even who is new to the series, just give it a shot. You don't really need the full background. I think it does a good enough job of just like bringing you in. And if you don't really care what the choices you made in the first game are, then you can jump into the sequel here, and you'll still enjoy it yourself, because it's not directly connected in that regard. I mean, it is directly connected, but it's not so heavily reliant on it that you would lose out too much by not having played the first one. So check that out.
I'll be linking it. I'll be linking it in the description of this episode.
Great. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, and I think that's it. Just those places. I'm gonna write something on Mafia soon. I may have a Veilguard review coming up. Buy Veilguard. Good, bad, hate it, love it. Just buy it, please, for me. Please. Thank you.
Because we need BioWare to exist. Because
we just need more Dragon Age.
Do we?
Yes, we need more Dragon Age.
I need that final Mass Effect. I want to see if they can still make Mass Effect great again.
Yeah. Mega.
That would be mega.
Oh my god. Yeah, mega. And
mega.
Mega. And then you can find me at my different names at different social medias at A_Segovia on Twitter, Alejandro Segovia 93 on Instagram /threads, A Segovia on Blue Sky, the Slayer Giant on Twitch and Discord. And then you can find my written content, my old stuff over at my website, thecriticalcorner.com, and my current stuff at seasongaming.com, where you can find my reviews for The Last of Us Part 2 Remaster, Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, Skull and Bones, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Final Fantasy 16 The Rising Tide, the garbage TMNT game from April, Stellar Blade, Star Wars Outlaws, my opinion piece on the on why Warhammer 40k was a good ode to the old days for shooters. You can find also my review for Alan Wake 2's DLC packs. You can find my review for Call of Duty Black Ops 6. My preview for Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D is live, and the full review sometime next week. So I think that'll be probably it for me. After Dragon Quest, I'm done for the year. I will have hit my quota from last year.
Just to be clear, your opinion piece was Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2.
Yes.
Just to make sure everyone knows it.
Space Marine 2. Space Marine 2? Okay.
You just said Warhammer 40k. I was like, there's a lot of Warhammer 40k.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, it's a lot of it's a bunch of stuff there. So
no problem.
And then you'll listen to me and Paul next week, same time, same channel. And thank you so much for listening. Hope you stay safe. If you're feeling down over, especially if you're in the US and you're not feeling really well after certain happenings, just know that find everyone that you love, give them a good hug, find the things that could cheer you up, be distracted, play games, do anything to take care of yourself.
Or you're feeling great, because we welcome everyone.
Yes, because let's just all try to gather together and live in harmony, because with our differences. So yeah, that's right. But if you need help, find the help that you need to cope, because that's how things are. But and with that, that's the end of this week's episode. Thank you so much for coming, Ray and Don and everyone else. Play some games and press X to play. Hasta la vista, baby.